Hey, football fans, welcome back to another episode of Lions Latest, the show where we gather around and talk about the greatest team in the NFL, the Detroit Lions. I'm your host, Bryan Hanes, and we have to talk about the Giants game, so let's jump straight into the video. But beforehand, if you like what you've been seeing, if you like what you've been hearing, make sure you guys go and subscribe if you're not already. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video. I don't want to make you do that beforehand, but if you enjoyed the video, make sure you go leave a like. It really means a lot. It really helps, and all the support I've been getting from you guys is absolutely incredible. So let's keep it up and let's get straight into this video. We're starting off with the summary of this game first. This was a super weird game because the first half, really, to me, it felt like another Minnesota Vikings game. Another game where we had no business losing and we were going to lose. And then the second half, the switch flipped. We started playing a lot better defensively, offensively, and then Jahmyr Gibbs just decided to take the game into his own hands. We did end up beating the Giants 34-27 in a very thrilling overtime victory. The game was a very back and forth affair for the most part, highlighted by a game-tying 59-yard field goal from Jake Bates with 28 seconds left in regulation. The field goal did not look like it was going to go in at first, but he managed to sneak it in. And then the Lions secured the win in overtime with a 69-yard rushing touchdown from Jahmyr Gibbs on the first play of overtime. And then the defense ended the game with an Aiden Hutchinson sack, his only one of the game. But it was a nasty-looking sack. It was great. It was great technique, honestly. It looked awesome, and it was really hyped to end the game. The Lions really did have to rally from behind, though, to win this game and to force overtime. The Giants held a lead in the fourth quarter and even had a chance to extend it with a goal line stand to extend it with a field goal, but there was a fourth quarter stand on the goal line and they scored and they failed to score, which turned over the ball to us on our own 2 yard line. That was huge. That was an insane hold, and we really needed that. After the Giants won the coin toss and deferred in overtime, the Lions then immediately went down and scored a touchdown with Jahmyr Gibbs. Hutch sealed the game with the walk-off sack, and the sack was actually Hutch's only sack of the game. For much of the afternoon, the two tackles for the Giants were neutralizing him. I had a feeling that would probably be the case. They're really great pass protection tackles, and I had a feeling they were going to do a good job of keeping Hutch out of bay. But that did end up allowing some other guys to get some work on the interior part of the line. And when you think about it, getting one sack in a game is good for any defensive lineman. So if it's going to be the one that seals the game, I would say that's a pretty good one overall, right? Yeah, their O-line did really neutralize us for the majority of the game. However, we also Hutch also recorded 6 quarterback sacks and was able to get some good pressures in throughout the game. The win did improve our record to 7-4, which was extremely clutch considering where we are in the season and that the Bears also won their game against the Steelers. We unfortunately did the only thing we couldn't have done this game to make it this difficult, and that was let Jameis Winston have his game, right? It was a famous Jameis game, unfortunately. The flea flicker touchdown pass that he got and he stiff-armed Derek Barnes and just totally blew the coverage was it was bad defense. It was insane. And I remember like watching it and be like, I'm going to get a snack and maybe do a lap around my house. I was in disbelief. Derek Barnes did get put on ESPN Top 10 with that one, unfortunately. But that was kind of an odd theme of this game was missed tackles, dropped passes, right? It was a big part of the game. St. Brown had 2 missed passes and actually only had 9 catches on 13 targets, which is, first of all, it's 2 missed dropped passes more than he usually has. But the last couple of weeks have been weird for St. Brown. One of those drop passes stalled a drive on third down, forced us to punt, and the other one was tipped into the air and intercepted by the defense, which was just really not good and just really uncharacteristic for St. Brown. However, to his credit, he did come back strong. He had a screen touchdown where he just powered his way into the end zone. He had a ton of catches afterwards, ton of yards, really helped us get great field position. Can't be too mad at him when he does that afterwards and helps us get into position to win. Good on St. Brown for that. We continued to struggle, though, in those third down situations this game. I think that's been a big thing for the Lions, struggling on third down. We only converted 5 of our 13 third down attempts for a conversion rate of approximately 38%, while the Giants actually, in comparison, had a 50% conversion rate. They were 8 for 16 in the same game. It's not good, man. It's not good. And that's been one of these coaching things we've been talking about is these third down situations we just don't call great plays, or Goff will miss a pass, or we'll have a dropped pass. Like for some reason we just struggle on third downs. I think not having Sam Laporta definitely adds to that. The drop passes definitely adds to it. But I mean, when you have a running back like we do, who can catch those wheel route passes, when you have a slot receiver like we do, who should be catching all of those little quick slant routes, um, it sucks that we're not converting that much, and it's mind boggling how we get there, and it just stalls these drives that last year we'd be rolling on. So it's just kind of interesting to me. It's a lot weird. This game to me overall seemed a lot more of a weak performance from us, that Gibbs kind of turned around in our favor, got the momentum flowing back in our favor. He really did step up against the worst rushing defense in the league, but I'm glad, and I was hoping we'd take advantage of that. We talked about it on this channel. And Gibbs absolutely did what he was supposed to do this game and really proved a lot of, not my points, but a lot of people's points about how he is going to be number one in this league. I thought he was absolutely insane this game. There were some other things. The O-line, I think, played pretty well for the most part. Helped with the rushing yards. They did really good in run blocking. Pass blocking was all right. They were without Thibodeau, which definitely took some of the load off of the O-line this game. But it was a solid game overall. We just had some really bad mistakes that were ultimately bailed out by Jameer Gibbs. So it's good to have that kind of player on the team, but we need to play better as a team overall going forward in the season. And I think that's been something we've talked about almost every game now, is we just need to be playing better. So that's what I got on that. We ended up taking the dub, which I will take. It was a very entertaining game, to say the least. I really enjoyed seeing famous Jameis play, even though he was the enemy. I thought we did really well in terms of stopping the run. I thought we did really well in terms of scoring. So it was a good game. You guys can let me know what you thought about it. That's going to take us to our second topic, standout performances. Starting off with Jake Bates, brother. Kicked the game-time 59-yard field goal to end the regulation. Clutch. He didn't make it. We wouldn't have gone to overtime. We would have lost this game. Absolutely clutch. And it was crazy, too. I thought he pulled that thing wide right, and it came back and snuck in. And you can see all the fans' reactions, too. They're like, oh, yeah. It was a pretty good one. Jake Bates, Mr. Clutch, the brick salesman. I love it. Roy Lopez. Now, I actually wanted to include a linebacker in this spot, and there were some great plays made by linebackers this game, but they really struggled in pass coverage, so I don't think it's really worth doing it. When Roy Lopez had a game, he had a very strong game. Recorded 6 tackles, a pass deflection. He was a key factor in the Detroit Lions' ability to stop the run game. We held the running backs to a combined 3.2 yards per carry, and also made sure that, they're 2 running backs combined for 109 yards off of 34 carries. That's both running backs. So that's really good stuff as well. And a lot of analysts actually noted that he was playing possibly his best game of the season. He was just a force to be reckoned with on the line of scrimmage. And I think it's cool to see Roy Lopez. Everyone's like, who's Roy Lopez? He's coming out and he's doing really good in the rotation. I like seeing him. I think he's awesome looking too. He's got the hair and the big sleeve. He's a giant human being, and he's been playing really, really well. And I like to see that we have some guy in the rotation all of a sudden just popping off. It's really, really good to have. I love having depth on the team. I love it. What can I say? And Roy Lopez, definitely one of those guys I'm glad to have in the lineup in the rotation. Thank you, Roy Lopez. And then Jameer Gibbs. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous not to put Gibbs in this category. He finished with 264 scrimmage yards. One player. The third most in Lions history, with 219 rushing yards, 45 receiving yards on 11 receptions. Scoring 3 touchdowns, including a 69-yard game winner in overtime. He was described by the Lions coach Dan Campbell as, quote, bailed us out today in a big way, end quote. Yeah, he's right. Because there were some times like the interception, or they go and score on that stupid flea flicker, and then Gibbs just goes, oh, you think that's cool? Watch this. And just goes and does one of his big run, his 49-yard run. I mean, he literally was the answer to the Giants. Like, if they had a big play, Gibbs was the guy who came out and answered. And you need to have a dog who steps up, and he was our guy that day. His speed and runner vision, too, is on full display. We saw him frustrated against the Eagles, saying that it was even the worst game they had played since he got there. He was not about to lose to the Giants the very next week. I feel like he did. This was a game where he just went, screw this, and took the game into his own hands. Really happy to see a player doing that. That's going to take us to fantasy points. I feel like, okay, so one of these names you're going to hear again. And yes, it is Jahmyr Gibbs. And yes, we will get it out of the way right now. Sorry about my hair, guys. I don't know what's going on with it. Well, if you had Gibbs on your team for fantasy this week, you probably won. You could have had someone get 0 points and you still probably won. This man had 55.4 points. What? 15 runs for 219 yards and 2 touchdowns. He was averaging 14.6 yards a run. What kind of stat is that? It's absolutely ridiculous. And had those 11 catches for 45 yards and a touchdown, which, by the way, PPR people, 11 catches, that's 11 points just off of catching the ball. Absolutely insane. Crazy night from Gibbs, but I was waiting for the game he was going to have like this. I think his 38, 39 yard game, I was like, oh, here it is. But this was really the game that I knew he was capable of. And that's why I took him in the first round in one of my leagues. I'm assuming that's why a lot of people took him in the first round, because he was capable of this. He showed us flashes of this at the end of last year when Monty was out, right? Finally kind of getting to see a little more consistent with it. I really like what I'm seeing from Jahmyr Gibbs, and I really like getting 55.4 points. That makes me very, very happy. So I just had to throw that in there. St. Brown, coming off his worst game against the Eagles, St. Brown had his second best fantasy performance despite the drops he was having. 29.9 points. He was still reliable. Despite those drops he had, he came out and continued to be a reliable target. 9 catches for 149 yards and a touchdown on that screen pass. Honestly, you can't knock him too hard when he ends up getting almost 150 yards. And a touchdown. He was a huge contributor to why we won this game, and he really did help us move the chains down the field in a lot of situations. So good for you, St. Brown. I appreciate it, bro. I just need a couple less drops and maybe not a drop that leads to an interception. I know, obviously, right? Hindsight, but I know you got it, brother. And I know you're not watching this, but you guys know what I mean. I don't even know. Goff, finally. Now, Goff didn't have a crazy game by any means. 17.2 points. But he did better than the two highest picked quarterbacks in fantasy this year. He had 17.2 points with 0 rushing yards and would have had more if St. Brown didn't tip that ball for an interception. That's better than both Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson this week. And Lamar Jackson the last 2 weeks. Now, this is Lamar's second week under 10 points. He had 4.7 points last week and 7.2 this week. And Goff has been many people's backups for both of these weeks, which admittedly I have Lamar in a league and I had Goff as the backup for both these weeks, and I feel quite silly. Now, last week Allen did have a very light 42 points. Light. But this week only 8.1. I think Goff was a very sneaky starter this week, and if you had him in, he wasn't giving you game-changing points. He wasn't giving you Jahmyr Gibbs 55 points or whatever the heck. But he was doing better than some guys a lot of people thought were just safer options. So, in my opinion, I think Goff just deserves to be up on this list because he was kind of the sneakier pick to go with, and I'm really happy that he ended up getting those points for people who needed it. Thanks, Jared Goff. Thanks for being better than both Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. Don't know how you did it, but you did. And finally, that's going to take us to injuries. Just some news on injuries post-game. First, Khalif Raymond during the game. No, not Leaf. He suffered an ankle injury. It looked pretty gruesome. Or not gruesome, but it looked pretty gross. I hope Leaf recovers quickly. I hope it's nothing too bad. Nick Whiteside was still inactive. Craig Reynolds was also inactive. So a couple special teamers, one of our corners out. Nick Whiteside, of course, who is made some great plays when we needed him to against teams like the Ravens. Hopefully he gets back healthy. Arnold still in concussion protocol. I don't know when he's coming back, guys. Honestly, I'm thinking it's going to be this week, if anything. But yeah, that's not a good one, and I want him to be back. Not just because I'm worried about how the secondary is going to perform. The secondary's been performing all right. They've been fine. I just want Arnold to continue to develop and not have another season where we just have to roll our eyes with him, because he is getting better. He was showing great stuff before he went out. Kirby Joseph out for what the team says maybe 2 more weeks, but he did post videos of him on Twitter and Instagram of him running at full speed at practice. So at least that's something good we can see. He's not just a total vegetable right now. He is getting his reps in. He is getting strong and healthy again. I like to see that. And then guys like Davenport has 11 days left on his evaluation. We should be getting news from him very soon, if not this week. It'd be good to have Davenport back in the rotation for his, the 1 or 2 games he'll stay with us until he gets hurt again. And then Josh Pascal has 4 days as well as Miles Frazier. So those two guys, 4 more days, we will have news on them this week. And hopefully we get both Miles Frazier and Josh Pascal into the roto. It'd be really cool to have another healthy lineman ready to go with Miles Frazier, especially with the potential he brings. And Josh Pascal is a huge part of the defense that coming back could really help us with the pass rush. Finally, I'm glad the O-line played despite the injuries. Tate Ratledge, Taylor Decker, Penny Sewell, Graham Glasgow were actually all listed as questionable, limited. So I was actually like, well, crap, are we going to even have an O-line for this game? Like, is Goff just going to be playing flag football with one guy on the line? They ended up playing and they played strong. And like some of your comments say, it's really cool to see guys that are injured stepping up and just putting their heart out there and putting it all out there because they know they need to. So great stuff from the O-line. I'm glad to see they're playing well. I'd love to see them play better next week, and I'd love to see them get healthier next week because I don't want anyone to be injured. With that being said, we are out of time today. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Lions Latest. Right now, if you made it to this point in the video, tell me what your takeaways were from the Lions versus Giants game. I'd love to hear your opinions down below so I can add that to a viewer comment section. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell so you never miss a single video here. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you in the next video.